Hello, my name is Jeremy Medeiros and I'm Bermuda's Terrestrial Conservation Officer for the Bermuda government. I'd like to welcome you out to Nonsuch Island, which really is a great place to talk about Bermuda's marine environment and marine ecosystems. Bermuda really is a very small mid-oceanic island. It's got a very small land space and the habitats here are very small too. But Bermuda's marine environment really is Bermuda's last wilderness. There's over 10 times the area of reef that there is land in Bermuda. So really Bermuda's marine environment is very, very important to the lives of all Bermudians. And it's very, very important to learn about it, to understand what things are happening in the marine environment, how we can protect it and how we can use it wisely for many generations to come. One of the real sort of staples of learning about things in science is that you can't really protect and understand something unless you learn about it. And this is a great place to start learning, so I hope that you enjoy the BIOS Explorer program and that you learn something as well. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks very much, Jeremy. And stay tuned, because in a few minutes we'll be showing you why we're cleaning seagrass, what we're doing underwater with a measuring tape, and what we do with this. Welcome everybody to BIOS Explorer. The theme for BIOS Explorer this year is changing climate, changing coast. And in order to study this, we're looking at three different aspects of the coast around Bermuda. We're going to be looking at seagrass beds. We're going to be looking at the coral reef and the health of the reef and the corals. And we're going to be going offshore in our big research vessel to study the deep ocean.
A lot of people don't appreciate how important seagrass is for the health of the whole ecosystem and coral.
You talk about seagrass as being a buffer from land to sea. By virtue of the seagrass blades being up in the water column, they increase sediment production, they encourage sediment to drop out of the water column and increase water clarity.
So they're filtering the water as it comes through. Oh wow. The big picture that the students are looking at today is looking at maybe how changing climate or global warming might be affecting the seagrass beds and in turn the whole marine environment. Is there any direct comparison or any relationship between changing climate and the changes in the seagrass beds? Or?
Well, globally that's really interesting in terms of temperature, that aspect of global climate change. But in Bermuda, I was saying before how this is the northernmost limit on turtle grass and Serengodium. So we're not really worried about high temperatures, increasing temperature, negatively affecting the meadow.
It has been documented that seagrass is dying off in Bermuda, is that true? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mostly on the offshore, which is a paradox, because we usually think about seagrass dying off on account of human disturbance, but we're seeing the absolute reverse pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're seeing the die off offshore, which is really far from human nutrient loading, boating activity.
So there's a lot of mysteries still to answer. Wow.
For sure.
Well, hopefully the students can crack the code on some of this as well.
Yeah. Well, one of the big questions is whether or not the grazing is wiping out the meadows. And that's probably the strongest hypothesis at present, because we have data showing that the meadows offshore are nutrient limited. And in some ways, nutrients such as nitrogen can fertilize grass, increase growth. So maybe the humans are fertilizing inshore grass, which is scary, and they're able to keep up with the high grazing by the turtles and the fish.
So as Kim says, Bermuda seagrass is in decline. As we are at the northern limit of the coolest waters in which seagrass can grow, it is unlikely that the decline in seagrass is caused by the temperature rises.
So we're going to look at the theory Kim mentioned, and we're going to look at the grazing patterns of the seagrass.
Seagrass is like the salad bar of the sea. with fish, mollusks, and turtles grazing on it.
For the experiment today, we're going to measure the amount of grazing that takes place in 3 marine environments: the coral reef, the mangrove, and the seagrass.
Really, my research concerns how corals respond to changes in their environment, and that's particularly relevant for climate change. We'll study how the reef community, particularly the corals, changes over time, perhaps during times of changes in temperature.
Now, is this the sort of thing that the BioNauts will be doing out on the reef this afternoon?
That's absolutely it. That's what they're doing. Yeah, we'll be laying transects down on the reef, which is really sort of 10 or 20 meters of tape on a given section of reef. And the BioNauts will be moving along that transect, along that tape, capturing digital images. You can bring those digital photographs back to the lab and analyse them and look at the different species that you've got there growing on the reef, different species of coral, and the total amount of coral, the extent to which the seabed's actually covered. So the sorts of data the BioNauts are getting today can be compared against previous years and also future years. So if future BioNauts are going to go out and do a similar thing, they can compare the data across years.
So we need to keep going next year and the year
after.
after.
You need to keep going and going.
So we could say that as well as being environmentally and scientifically important, corals are also beautiful. It's a beautiful place to do your research.
Yeah, working on coral reefs is an amazing experience, and the BioNauts today are going to have a great experience going out on the reef amongst the reef animals, and it's an experience which is really second to none, other than maybe walking through a rainforest or something like that.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get into our scuba gear, head down to the reef, and lay out some transects.
And we're going to use a measuring tape like this and lay a line across the reef. About 20 meters of it.
So we're gonna swim along the line, taking a picture every meter, and we're gonna make sure we shoot straight down so we don't get any distortion.
And that's it. We'll repeat the process a few more times and bring the images back here and have a look at them on the computer.
So that's how it is on land. Now let's see how it is underwater.
Today we're going out on BIOS's new research vessel, the Atlantic Explorer, to see how they monitor the deep sea around Bermuda. First of all, we're going to watch them deploy a plankton tow. Then we'll watch them collect a deep sea water profile with an instrument called a CTD.
I work with the BATS lab, the Bermuda Atlantic Time Series lab. I'm Vivienne Lockhead, and I'm an oceanographic research technician. That means that I am one of the ones who studies the ocean for the BATS lab. We study the exact same spot once a month and take data from surface to 4,200 meters. We're looking at global climate change. So we're looking at the different properties of the water, physical, chemical, biological. Especially in the last few years, people are now really taking an interest in it, in global warming, global climate change, and it's a way to be able to back it up with data. When you study oceanography, you cannot just study the biology. You cannot just be a biological oceanographer. That might be your field, but you have to also know the physics behind it. You have to know the physical oceanography, you have to know the chemical oceanography, you have to know the geological oceanography. And if you get a degree in oceanography, you are studying all 4 of them.
Well, these experiments are all part of our overarching theme, changing climate, changing coast. Scientists around the world agree the Earth is warming up. And what are the effects of this increasing global temperature going to be on an oceanic island like Bermuda? We're concerned about our coral reefs. We're concerned about our coastal habitats, cliff damage from these violent storms we've been having recently, and just the effect of sea level rise. We don't know what's going to happen, but we need to study and to keep an eye on Bermuda in order to find out what the effects are going to be.